Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. In this episode, I wanted to discuss tactics versus strategic outcomes. And I think there is some misinformation that would lead one to believe that because of certain tactics that are being employed by both sides, those tactics lead to certain outcomes that, in fact, um, simply may not be the case. So I'll try to explain. So, in the campaign inside of the Tigray region, and I want to really kind of focus on the Ethiopian National Army, the Amhara militias, which kind of operate together in tandem, and their primary method, their primary tactic, if they were to advance upon a city or a location, those tactics involve traveling by column over normally a paved roadway, and then seizing the objective in more or less a column type of method. So if they were going to enter, let's say, Alamata, the Ethiopian army, these Amhara militias, which are also assigned to Ethiopian army units as well. And sometimes there's more Amhara militias, sometimes there's less, sometimes there's less Ethiopian army, and they act as in terms of a supporting role with heavy weaponry. But again, they travel in column formation until they come into contact with an enemy force, and then they engage that force, sometimes with heavy artillery, sometimes with a direct fire with technical type vehicles employing 23 millimeter anti-aircraft weapons in a direct fire capacity. And then obviously infantry formations also move forward from this column that is attacking a certain area. And that is the primary method of advance, the primary tactic that we are seeing. And this is normally the case when you have an army that is not very well trained, that is hurriedly entered into the fray without months of training in terms of conducting a movement to contact, not traveling via roads, traveling over open terrain, utilizing terrain features. Now, in terms of the Tigrayan Defense Forces, we see that. The TDF, while they do use some of the same type of tactics in terms of coming into an area via roadway, they also move quite a bit over open terrain. Okay, and the primary tactic behind this is to envelop the opposing force. So when the TDF advances into an area, let's say Alamata, they are not necessarily coming directly at Alamata via a column type of formation directly into the city. They move on the outskirts of the city. They travel over mountainous terrain, and sometimes that takes time. And their whole tactic, their whole strategy is to basically surround, or in some cases, create a triple envelopment. So if there was a force of the Ethiopian army and Amhara militias, let's say located in Alamata or whatever city, I'm just using Alamata as an example. The TDF will sometimes move to the rear of this objective. And again, in recent operations, we've seen the TDF obviously moving from north to south, with coming from Coram, with the objective of entering Alamata. Now, a lot of times what happens is these forces move along this mountainous terrain with the goal of creating blocking formations that set up along these very rough terrain features. Then a force moves in from the north, from the east, west, and that is what is causing some of these mass surrenders. So there's a lot of strategy involved, there's a lot of tactics involved, and you can really see that in the ongoing conflict that is taking place. You do see a lot of column formation type mass attacks with these Amhara militias and these Ethiopian units that are being supplemented by, in some cases, heavy weaponry. And again, on the TDF side, you see envelopment. You see moving through terrain features in open country, utilizing the resources they have, such as maps and knowledge of the terrain, to get behind the enemy, to get on the flanks of the enemy, and then to basically destroy the enemy. And that is really kind of the significant differences you see now in these forces. And I've heard reports from other channels that would indicate that the TDF, quote unquote, does not prefer to operate in urban terrain. Well, that's not the case. There is a method behind what they are doing, and it is primarily an enveloping strategy to get behind the enemy, to get on the flanks, and then launch a multi-pronged attack, which then causes usually a mass surrender. If you've not been exposed to a double or triple envelopment, you really don't understand the chaos that is created by that form of strategy, especially when you're used to traveling over column towards an objective and you attack one way. And that is the methodology that we inherently see from the Ethiopian army and the Amhara militias. And we will continue to see that sort of strategy until training gets better on that one side in terms of the Ethiopian army. Have a great day, everybody.